that's like, I mean, but that's like throwing my food. I didn't. I can't. Okay. That's true. Never mind. I do.
Aaron,
Oh, I don't know. But Alicia
consent agenda is 6 through 13. Okay. It says 6 through 12 on it. Okay, 6 through 13. Okay.
We're just missing one.
Hey, how are you?
I'm just missing one. This man one. I said I'll read it if I can't find it. We'll check on it.
Cell phone.
Alright guys, we're like 5 minutes down. Yeah.
Okay. Y'all got the program, huh?
Willie Hare.
Yeah.
Ward Daddy. You know,
Yeah.
started the chapter. How you doing? Good. Started the chapter and let's talk about yeah, how you doing? I've heard about that shit. What's up, Bob?
James.
What's up, James?
James, how are you? Erica, you got me straight. We're gonna try.
Which door is that open? They're all different. You know, they're all different doors. Yeah.
All right. Welcome everyone here tonight. Madam Clerk, would you please call the roll?
Good evening, Mr. Rickaman, Mr. McDowell.
Yes.
Mr. Duval, Ms. Devine, Mr. Davis.
Here.
Mayor Benjamin.
Present.
Thank you.
All stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. Rev. McDowell for an invocation.
Let us pray. Creator God, for all that you've done for us, for the promise of your presence in our lives, we come to this place, this community-based place. We simply ask that you might sensitize each of us to your will and to your way. Allow us to sense the needs and yet the successes of this, our city. Afford us that privilege. We ask it in your name. Amen.
Amen. City Manager.
Mr. Mayor, there are no public comments related to the agenda items. We would ask the mayor and council to approve the consent agenda items 6 through 10 and 12 and 13.
Is there a motion?
Second.
Moved and probably seconded. Any discussion? Move approval of agenda items by consent 6 through 10, 12, and 13. With the previous question, clerk, call the roll.
Mr. Rickaman, Mr. McDowell.
Yes.
Mr. Duval, Ms. Devine, Mr. Davis.
Aye.
Mayor Benjamin.
Aye.
Mayor
All right.
Benjamin, moving into a period of presentations, we are extremely proud to recognize Dr. Willie Hereford, a civil rights activist and archivist as well, the Honorable Mayor Stephen K. Benjamin.
It's not often we get but so many points of personal privilege, and I do consider this probably like a lot of people here in this chamber I consider this a personal privilege and an honor to recognize Willie Hereford, affectionately known as Dean, to so many of us. I hope that none of my other professors, I do have my transcript already and my degrees, so I don't have to worry about that, will take this personally, but by far my most beloved professor and my favorite classes that I took at the university were all taught by Dean Hereford. We have a proclamation from the City of Columbia that reads as follows. Whereas Mr. Willie Hereford is an esteemed civil rights archivist, and whereas Mr. Hereford is a retiree from the University of South Carolina, the first director of African American Studies, a former archivist at the Harry S. Truman Presidential Library, and a former archivist at the Martin Luther King Center in Atlanta. And whereas Mr. Hereford continued the legacy of the first intercollegiate Greek letter fraternity by founding the Alpha Phi Alpha chapter at the University of South Carolina in 1963, and I think every Kappa here knows also helping found the Kappa chapters at Epsilon at the University of South Carolina. And whereas Mr. Hereford has made innumerable contributions to his field of work through his extensive documentation of civil rights history with the greatest passion, and whereas Mr. Hereford is known to be an excellent mentor and advisor to students with interest in African American studies and civil rights. Now, therefore, I, Stephen K. Benjamin, Mayor of the City of Columbia, South Carolina, along with my fellow members of Columbia City Council, do hereby proclaim April 4th, 2017, let's say it's not the 4th, May 2nd, 2017, to be Mr. Willie Hereford Day in the great city of Columbia, and urge my fellow citizens to recognize and participate in its observance. I want to make sure everyone knows how many people are here to show their love and support of Willie Hereford. Y'all stand up for a second if you're here tonight to recognize Dean Hereford. And Dean, we want to give you a moment to say something as well, but it's important to know that not only are we taking the time to recognize an incredible and generous lifetime of service to the people of not just Columbia, but to this entire country, we also want to bestow upon you our highest honor, the key to the city of Columbia as well. All right? So please, let
It's nice to be here. I spent time here before. I used to sit in the mayor's seat when I was on the city commission. I think there's a minister or two I know here. I know a lot of you here. I think one of the nicest things and the best things I have is I've got my family here. I've got children, grandchildren, and great-grandchildren. Glad that they all were there, and I'm glad that I lasted long enough to see it. I'd like to thank all of you for doing this for me. And some of you look as old as I am, but but I'm glad that you're here, and I'm really glad to see you, and glad to talk to you. Some of you I haven't seen for years. And then there's some of you who have just begun to see. I've got grandchildren, great-grandchildren who are here today. And so this is one of the best days of my life, to be able to see all you people. Some of you, I look back and there have been people that I met when I first came here, who are here. I've got a couple of friends here. When I first came to Columbia, they were some of the first people I met. And then since that time, I look up out here now, and I've got all these daughter-in-laws and grandchildren and great-grandchildren who are here. And some of you, I'm looking at you, I remember your mothers when they were here. Yeah. That happens when you get old, you remember. And some of the men here that they've gotten so elderly that I couldn't recognize who they were. But it's a great thing to be honored by all of you. Great to be here. I've got some of you here who were little boys on my first soccer team.
Wow.
Yeah. And they're, 40 years old now? So that's been there. Some of you have been able to tell me some of the things that I did. I used to be advisor to the Alphas, and one of the first initiation groups, I let them drink wine over to my house for initiation. Yeah, they did. They thought that was the greatest thing in the world. Well, I'm going to stop now because I can talk forever. But I look at the seats and things that are here and enjoy all the, glad that you're all here. So I guess I'll go sit down and you can go ahead and continue your program.
Well, Dean, stay and stand for a picture with us just for a moment, and your beautiful wife and family come join us as we present this to you formally, please.
Okay.
All right. That's all right. And we have no problem with everyone leaving, but James Bennett has to stay. So. Who's that?
Judge Kinlaw, I
Judge?
just want to
Oh, yeah.
make sure we recognize that we have Judge Alex Kinlaw in here. Drove down
From
from
Greenville. I didn't know he was
Yes.
a charter member of the Theta Nu chapter of Alpha Phi Alpha. I did not realize that.
I am.
Learned that tonight.
I am the only one in the room that was around that long.
Good seeing you, Judge.
Good to see y'all.
All right. Good looking boys.
I didn't know James followed your direction all the time, Mr. Mayor. He's still sitting back there, too.
I told him. I'm not gonna say I told him, but he'll fade out after a while. I was joking, Mr. Bennett. You're good. Is it on there? There's nothing on there. Anyway, let's keep on moving. All
Item
right.
15, Peace Officers Memorial Day, the Honorable Mayor Stephen K. Benjamin.
This is a wonderful opportunity to observe in the United States the contributions of local, state, and federal peace officers who died in the line of duty. Whereas tens of thousands of law enforcement officers from around the world come together in Washington, D.C. to participate in events that honor those who paid the ultimate sacrifice, and whereas during Peace Officers Memorial Day and Police Week, we celebrate those who protect and serve us every minute of every day, and we honor the courageous officers who devoted themselves so fully to others. In the process, they laid down their lives, and whereas thanks to law enforcement officers, we have safer streets, stronger communities, and a more secure nation. And whereas we want to thank all who risk their lives every day to protect our world and make it a better place. Now, therefore, I, Stephen K. Benjamin, Mayor of the City of Columbia, along with my fellow members of Columbia City Council, do hereby proclaim May 15th, 2017, as Peace Officers Memorial Day in the City of Columbia. We urge our fellow citizens to recognize and participate in its observance. Chief, would you accept this on behalf of all peace officers?
Item 16, Columbia Women's Day, the Honorable Tamika Isaac Devine, Ms. Mital Lyons Warren, Ms. Ida Thompson with the Richland Library Board of Trustees, and Ms. Kathy Riley, Executive Director of the Women's Shelter.
As those ladies are coming forward, I'm just going to do a brief introduction and then let them give a brief presentation, and then the mayor has the proclamation. But many of you have seen over the last year, I've introduced Mital Lyons Warren, who is my intern this year. She is an MSW student at the University of South Carolina. We're graduating next week, and I'm very, very sad to be losing her because she's done extraordinary work this year on a lot of issues that are very important to the city and to me personally. But of course, one issue that has always been very near and dear to my heart is the empowerment of women. And as we've been working together, I wanted Mital to spend this semester on doing a project that she can take ownership of and really leave a legacy here in Columbia. She leaves us next week to go off somewhere else, and hopefully sometime soon we'll have some opportunities here in Columbia to bring her back. But one was the establishment of Columbia Women's Day. We wanted to recognize the unsung women in the community. You see women, typically the same women who get recognized for achievements here in the Columbia community, but we know that there are so many extraordinary women doing so many extraordinary things. And so we wanted to have this year as the inaugural year, and then in subsequent years we will continue to recognize these great women. So with that, I'm going to let Mital give a presentation, and then we'll ask the mayor to present you with a proclamation.
Thank you so much. Good evening, esteemed city councilors, mayor, and residents of Columbia, and the phenomenal women in the room. Give yourself a round of applause. I am honored to be here tonight to give you just a glimpse into what Columbia Women's Day has accomplished in a short 4 months. This project blossomed out of my own frustration around the lack of visibility of the fabulous women I had the privilege of working with, including Councilwoman Devine. I asked myself, are women in Columbia even being seen? And if they are, how are they seen? And what I found is a lack of recognition of women's essential contributions to the Columbia community. My wonderful team, Carly Starum and Sabrina Ricks, and I had the joy of interviewing 24 amazing contributors to the city. Our interviewees represent the spectrum of identities that foster inclusion in the city, showing girls and women they can flourish in Columbia and have opportunities if they stay here. We are elated that the city is acknowledging the work of these individuals, and we know this is just the beginning of refaming recognition for all in our community. I now have the privilege of inviting Ms. Ida Thompson and Ms. Kathy Riley, two of our phenomenal women, to come and share some words.
To members of council, to Mayor Benjamin, to the Women's Day Committee, and to all my fellow honorees this evening, and to the ladies and gentlemen in the audience, I'm sure that each of us here today is extremely proud to be a part of this first annual Columbia Women's Day. We'd like to say on their behalf a very special thank you to all the program organizers, to everyone who supported this effort, and most importantly, those who were generous enough to conceive of and to implement this very special recognition. Collectively, our varied backgrounds and our experiences represent the very fabric of our great city. We are educators, we're entrepreneurs, we're professionals that come from all walks of life. We represent our commitment, the diversity, and the leadership, which makes a good city a great city. We are all very proud to call Columbia our home and to contribute our talents to its growth, to its vision to become an even more progressive and responsive city. But more importantly, we recognize the significance of this initiative, both to contribute to the development and inspiration of our young women in particular, and to women at large who give so tirelessly of themselves every day. A community prospers when it harnesses the interest, the talent, and the commitment of its individual citizens into a collective spirit that facilitates new ideas, new services, and new opportunities for all of its citizens. We are extremely proud to be a part of this program, and we thank you sincerely. Columbia is indeed a great place to live, and we represent the women, and we know there are lots of good supporters behind us, but we thank you so kindly for this opportunity and for this initiative, and we hope that it will spur us as a community to bigger and greater things. Thank you so very much.
Absolutely.
Good evening. I believe this proclamation is important to all honorees because it recognizes our passions and the people we serve more than our individual selves. Whatever brings a spotlight to what we do and what we love, that's a good thing. For me personally, the celebration of Columbia Women's Day is a celebration of all the homeless women I have worked with and for these past 40 years at the shelter. Thank you for drawing attention to all the strong, creative, and courageous women who live in this city. Thank you.
Thank you. I have a proclamation from the City of Columbia. Whereas women make up almost 50% of the population of the City of Columbia, And whereas women contribute to the growth and prosperity of the city of Columbia, and whereas their work enriching the city and its residents often goes unrecognized, and whereas changing the lack of visibility is not merely about being seen, but also about how women are seen, and whereas changing the awareness of the influences women have on the city of Columbia is vital to the sustainability of the talent in our city, and whereas the legacy of every woman will be recognized in the city forever, and they will all be appreciated. Now, therefore, I, Stephen K. Benjamin, Mayor of the City of Columbia, along with my fellow members of Columbia City Council, do hereby proclaim May 12th, 2017, and every May 12th to follow, to be Columbia Women's Day in the great city of Columbia, and urge my fellow citizens to recognize and participate in its observance. All right.
I did just want to say, Matal failed to say, so next Thursday evening, we will have a reception recognizing the 24 women that were selected this year for Columbia Women's Day. And on Columbia Women's Day next Friday, every hour, the information and bios of these women will go out. And so that way you'll be able to see all the phenomenal things that these women do in our community. And you can follow Columbia Women's Day on Twitter at Columbia Women's Day. Cola to Women's Day. And then the city will be retweeting as well.
All right, awesome. All right, thank you, ladies.
Thank you, Mayor. Item 17, What's Next Midlands? Ms. Laura Ross, Project Manager for Ingenuity SC.
With a guest appearance. Good evening, Mayor Benjamin, to council, to the city manager, staff, and guests. My name is Megan Hickman, and I'm the Executive Director of Ingenuity SC. Ingenuity SC is an economic development organization, and we exist to work with leaders like you to make this region more prosperous and more competitive. And tonight, I am so excited to be here with one of our fantastic project managers, Laura Ross, to tell you a little bit more about one of our newest and most exciting projects, What's Next Midlands. So Laura is going to be taking you through some of the initiatives that are a part of What's Next Midlands, so that we can brief not only you, but citizens around the city of Columbia of what they can be looking forward to over the coming months. And ultimately, we just want to say thanks. Thank you for your continued support for not only what we're doing for the city with What's Next Midlands, but for what we get to do at Ingenuity SC. And with that, I will turn it over to Laura for the update.
Thank you, Megan, and thank you guys. I'm so excited to have a few minutes to talk about something that I'm very passionate about. And for those of you in the room who have not heard of What's Next Midlands, it is an idea hub that inspires community action. And so our goal is to improve livability in the Midlands by bringing the ideas of community members to life. So this means anyone can go to whatsnextmidlands.com and submit an idea to us for how we can improve the Midlands, and it could become a reality. So it's a really exciting concept, and we've had a few great successes, and we're here to tell you a little bit about some of the projects we're working on now and some of the things you'll see in the coming months. And so with that, I will tell you a little bit about Soda City Recycles on the second slide. It is an idea that was submitted by several individuals to our website. They expressed a need and a desire for more recycling receptacles in high pedestrian areas. And so with really the boom of Main Street and all the excitement and action happening there, we decided to focus on the Main Street corridor for this particular project. We gained the support of several area businesses, and thanks to their support, as well as SCE&G, we are going to be able to install 11 permanent new recycling bins on the Main Street corridor this spring. So we're really excited about that. We have to give a huge thank you to our partners with City of Columbia Development and Planning, as well as Recycling, who are working with us on this project. They have increased the pickup schedule to twice weekly now, which I know people are thrilled about, as well as they've reevaluated the streetscapes in general. So looking to have the recycling receptacle be more cohesive with the trash receptacle, which will match the light post. And so all these things that we don't really think about, but we're glad somebody is, and that is something that you'll be able to see in the next few months. Something that people are really getting excited about is our most recent project selection. At our last voting session, our social investors, which by the way are people who, social investors donate $100 or more to us each year, and they are very much involved in the selection process. So they voted on a pop-up drive-in as our newest project in March. We are going to be doing one movie per month at the historic Columbia Speedway, May through August. So the first film will be coming up on May 20th. It is a nostalgic baseball throwback called The Sandlot. So I know people with kids in the room are really excited about that one. And we're expecting to have 4 very full events. We have a website that's up and running now where you can reserve a parking pass, summerdriveinseries.com. So we encourage you to visit that and check out more information. And finally, perhaps our biggest project so far as What's Next Midlands is going to be a new public art initiative. And it was inspired by an idea that was, again, submitted to our website to light up a bridge. And so we took that and started working with an artist who is a University of South Carolina professor, Chris Robinson. He specializes in laser lighting installations. He's one of just a few artists in the world who are still doing these. And so with that, we are focused on the area between the Gervais and Blossom Street bridges and the space over the Congaree River. We're looking at doing a lighting installation that will come on at dusk each evening for about 3 hours for the lifetime of the equipment, which is about 8 to 10 years. This would not be possible without our community partners in support of One Columbia. Lee Snellgrove has been a huge player for our committee. We are working with the Congaree Vista Guild, as well as support from City of Columbia, City of West Columbia, City of Casey, and South Carolina State Museum and Adventure Children's Museum. So I did bring a project rendering of that. We have not showed these images to many people, so it's very exciting to give you a little glimpse of what it will look like. I know for those looking at the projector screen, the light in the room, you don't get too good of a feel for it, but you're looking at the view of it from the Blossom Street side. You'll have a laser on both sides, the Gervais and the Blossom Street side, and then the artist will use mirrors to create a pattern over the water. So think of it as a lighted sculpture. It is not a laser show, it is quiet, it's designed to be contemplative, and again, it will be the only piece of its kind in the United States, so we're very, very excited to have it in a space that will be proudly owned by Columbia, West Columbia, and Casey. We truly think it's going to be a tourist attraction as well. It'll be one of the must-sees when people come to the area, but it'll become an identity piece as well for residents. We're expecting to launch this in tandem with the solar eclipse programming in August. We think it's a really nice tie-in, and of course we'll have a couple extra guests that weekend as well. So we hope to launch it that Saturday evening before the eclipse.
So it's no hidden secret that we are really excited about the work that we're doing with What's Next Midlands, and we're really excited about what you all enable us to do as partners at Ingenuity SC. So we just appreciate the opportunity to update you on some of the things we're doing to help make this a more prosperous and livable city and ultimately make this a more competitive region. We could not do it without your continued investment and support. And to Councilwoman Devine and to Mayor Benjamin for your leadership on our board, we're so grateful to have you as a part of our team.
Did you see her shoot that three-point shot for you today?
I heard good things about that. I had no idea we had a basketball ringer on council. I'm very impressed.
She's a natural. She's a natural.
She didn't even have to bring in the women's basketball team to do it.
I actually have video of it.
I love it. Well, we'd be happy to answer any questions if you've got them, but ultimately, we just want to say thank you.
Thank you, guys. Thank you for the great work you're doing. And for those up here, we need to make sure that we get our constituents to submit ideas as well.
Yeah.
So.
People are excited, really excited about What's Next Midlands, but all the work that Ingenuity SC does just across the board. We are seriously moving the needle, and now we can actually measure how we move the needle.
That's right.
Because of some of your efforts. So no, keep up the great work.
Thank you.
We're excited.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Item 18, National Preservation Month Proclamation. The Honorable Stephen K. Benjamin and I believe Miss Amy Moore with our staff is going to also come forward. Mayor Benjamin.
Would you like to present first, Amy, and then I'll do the proclamation? Please.
I would, the proclamation, I think you have it.
Oh, I have it. I said, would you like to present first, or?
Sure.
Okay. Well, we're honored, of course, to participate in National Preservation Month. We're going to have a fun time tomorrow celebrating one of the great successes in the Penn Valley Compress warehouse. But across this city, I think it's clear and known that we value historic properties, and we realize that we can only be this great city, great American city, a great world city, if we do value and treasure our historic properties, recognizing that historic preservation is indeed an effective tool for economic and sustainable development that helps with tourism promotion, community revitalization, and certainly helps foster local pride and maintaining community character while enhancing livability. We recognize that historic preservation is relevant for every community across this country, whether it's an urban community or a rural community, and for all Americans of all walks of life and ethnic backgrounds. And it's important to celebrate the role of history in our lives and the contributions made by dedicated individuals in helping to preserve the tangible aspects of the heritage that helped shape us as a people. This year marks the 51st anniversary of the National Historic Preservation Act and the 101st anniversary of the National Park Service. So it's our honor and our pleasure to recognize May 2017 as National Preservation Month in our city, and urge everyone in their own way to recognize and participate in its observance. Now, we do have an opportunity to recognize someone who's been doing a great job in helping us. Yes, ma'am, please.
We do indeed. So, as you know, the City of Columbia has a Mabel Payne Award, which is given annually by the Planning Department to an individual or group that has played a vital role in preserving the city's architectural heritage. The award is named for Mabel Payne, a City of Columbia employee who single-handedly directed the preservation efforts in the capital city during the 1960s when the preservation movement first got underway. Perhaps her most notable achievement was saving the Robert Mills House from demolition as part of her massive efforts during her tenure here. Today, the City of Columbia's Design Development Review Commission is the legacy of the Historical and Cultural Buildings Commission, and it still has purview over landmarks and districts created by Payne in the 1960s. So I'm very pleased to announce that our 2017 Mabel Payne Award recipient is Miss Gertrude Siebels. Trudy came to Columbia in 1959. She's been here a while, following an education in art and architectural history at Vassar and postgraduate work in architecture at Yale. During her education, she studied with Joseph Albers, Louis Kahn, and Philip Johnson, among others, and brought this wealth of experience to her work in Columbia at Upshur and Riley, where she worked with Phelps Bultman, the firm of Harmon and Keenan, and also she worked with Maynard Pearlstein in his practice. She was certainly one of the city's few women working in the field of architecture at that time, if not the only one. Aside from her architectural work with historic buildings, she also worked on preservation planning reports, and with her colleague Phelps Bultman and her husband Granville Siebels, she produced a published inventory of Columbia's commercial buildings, a document we still use today. Trudy also served on the Design Development Review Commission as our architectural historian for several years, and we struck gold when she volunteered. In her tenure on the commission, she kept both staff and applicants on our toes, taught us a lot, and she was never less than exceptionally well prepared, characteristics which she also carried to her work as a member of the State Board of Review for the National Register for Historic Places. In short, Trudy has maintained a standard of excellence in her own work, as well as of one of high expectations, which has really contributed greatly to better preservation in the city. Please help me congratulate Trudy as the newest recipient of the Mabel Payne Award. I just wanted to add that we have some preservation activities for the month. They'll be on the website. We'll be having a workshop May 20th at what is fondly known as the Little Red Schoolhouse, trying to do some work on renovating that. Our Parks and Rec staff has a great series of tours on the canal. We just really encourage everybody to get out and appreciate those buildings that we walk by every day and probably don't pay attention to, that we take them for granted, but they make up such an important part of our city. We're also taking part this year in the National Trust This Place Matters campaign. So we have signs that say, "This place matters," and people across the country do this. They hold these signs up, they go to a building they love, they take their picture with the sign and they put it on social media. So we will be doing some of that, and we'll be using our building at Washington Square to promote some of those. If anybody wants to get in touch with any of us to do that or get some help with it, we're happy to do it, but we really hope all of you will take part in it.
Is it a hashtag? Is it a hashtag, This Place Matters? Thank you.
We'll get it to
Yes.
you.
Okay, all right.
Thank you.
Thank you, Amy. Thank you so much. All right, Madam City Manager?
Yes, sir. Item 19, Small Business Week Proclamation. Ms. Tina Herbert, Executive Director of the Office of Business Opportunities.
Good evening, everyone. Office of Business Opportunities, we're really excited because it is annual Small Business Week, and we spend 6 months getting ready for this week, and it takes just about everything out of us, so we're super excited. It's our time and our opportunity to really show small businesses that they matter and that they are really the backbone of our economy. So this year was pretty special. because we got to kick it off, although none of us got to go to DC. Our very own Mayor Benjamin was honored by the SBA with the Phoenix Award for the public official with disaster recovery and disaster relief. So we definitely want to give him a hand, because that was pretty cool for us to be recognized on a national level. But no one from OBO was invited to attend, even though it was an SBA event with city manager. We're really excited.
Where do you find these people?
I mean, it was the SBA. We should have got a ticket. We've given you a flyer. We're really excited. Highlights for the conference, which will be Thursday, will include celebrity chef Sarah Simmons. She's going to be there. And if you don't know her, she owns Rise Gourmet Foods here, but she also owns 2 New York restaurants. And we're really happy about having her because she's an example of someone who has left Columbia and chose to come back. And there's a great story in choosing to come back home and to start a business and bring your skills and talents here. We're also going to have a pitch competition for Innovate Her, where we're hoping to get some national attention again. The first year that we had it, we did have someone to make it to the national finals, and that was Gabby Bowes. So she'll actually be there, giving her Where Am I, and things that have happened since that. So we're really excited. We want you all to come out, and I definitely want to thank PR. PR has really been working this week because we have been on WLTX, we've been on WIS, we've been, and all of these are at 5:30 in the morning, just so y'all know. And we've been on Fox News and all the radio stations, so I really want to thank them for getting us out. And we were able to give exposure to our business spotlight that's going to come up, as well as some of our presenters, so that's been really cool. So if you all can come out, we want to see you on Thursday at any time between 8:30 and 2. Thank you.
Awesome.
And Mayor Benjamin, we'll just do a picture after we do our second part.
Okay, absolutely.
Thank you, Tina. Item 20, Business Spotlight Program honoree, Mr. Angelo McBride, the Office of Business Opportunities Administrator.
I'll be brief, Mr. Mayor, Council. We bring today Mr. Richard Balzer, who's the founder and CEO of Initially Yours LLC, Columbia Luggage. He's a product of a long family history in the retail industry, continuing his grandfather's footstep. Many of you all know the Mo Levy's that used to be here in 1920. I think you were smiling. I hope you wasn't there in 1920, but yeah, it's awesome. And it's good to have jewels like that still here in Columbia and continuing that march. And so when we found it, we realized we definitely had to bring him before you all. Richly proudly operates the high-end luggage, and today he has some display to show you as well of goods and specialized in gifts and personalized items such as towels and sheets and Bibles and monograms, shirts and business portfolios, and known for being a professional. We're a professional shop for those high-end items. Right down here on 1111 Lady Street, so within walking distance. But because of his contributions and his innovation and what he's given back to the public and to the community, this is one of the reasons why we want to recognize him as the Business Spotlight. We have a 1 minute and 30-second video, and then I'll let the chamber come forth, and then Richard will speak then.
Hi, I'm Richard Balzer of Initially Yours Columbia Luggage at 1111 Day Street, Columbia, South Carolina. I'd like to welcome you to Columbia Luggage. We've been here for 35 years. We are Columbia's only luggage dealer, including custom monogramming and embroidery services. We at Initially Yours Columbia Luggage have a unique process here. We offer embroidery, well, with 200 different fonts and colors. A unique item is hot foil stamping on vowels and hymnals, which provides a very unique item because Columbia has no other offering like this in the area. We also have small leather goods, anywhere from business cases, portfolios, for the business and professional. Customers always come first. We want them to have a positive experience and the desire to become part of our family. Initially Yours Columbia Luggage. We'd like to thank the City of Columbia, the Office of Business Opportunity, for spotlighting Initially Yours Columbia Luggage.
And good evening, Mr. Mayor and members of council. It's a great pleasure on behalf of Carl Blackstone and Lee Cato to be here tonight, especially during Small Business Week. We had the great opportunity of kicking it off yesterday with Sam and you, Mayor, and it's always a pleasure to work with Angelo and Tina in the Office of Business Opportunities to promote small businesses. So it's especially a great privilege for us today to offer to Mr. Balzer a chamber partnership for a year. We hope that you will come out, take advantage, help teach others your skills and knowledge that has helped make you so successful, and we thank you very much for everything that you do for the community. So thank you, sir. Congratulations.
Thank you. Hi, thank you for inviting me tonight. I'm from Initially Yours Columbia Luggage. We've been here for over 35 years, born in Columbia, and came back to Columbia to continue our success. We offer a wide selection of small leather goods, embroidery, and also we're the only Columbia luggage store in Columbia. We thank you.
Well, we thank you. We recognize the importance, obviously, that 750,000 people in South Carolina are employed by small businesses, employing over about half of our entire workforce, and the hard work and intestinal fortitude of our small businesses, particularly a good, strong legacy businesses in downtown Columbia, that does not go unnoticed. So we're proud, of course, to name this National Small Business Week in Columbia, but also name this quarter Initially Yours LLC quarter in the city of Columbia.
Item 21, Midlands Gives Giving Day Proclamation, the Honorable Tamika Isaac Devine.
Just briefly, those of you, pretty much all of you probably know today is Midlands Gives, which is a 24 hours of giving here in the city of Columbia. And the mayor alluded to it earlier. He and I participated in a mayor's challenge earlier in which we shot baskets, and if we shot the basket, Nephron gave $250 to a charity of our choice. And so between the two of us, we both made our baskets, and so we've given $1,000 to 4 local charities. And as of right now, 10,853 donations have been made online for a total of 1,363,000.
The only person who was shooting in the dress, a skirt earlier. I'm sorry.
So that's my basket. See, he was on TV with his basket. 1,363,918 as of this second.
Wow.
That is fabulous. And so the mayor and city council, we are proclaiming today, May 2nd, 2017, as Midlands Gives Day in the city of Columbia.
All right, let's tweet away. We gotta hit that $2 million goal before midnight, y'all. So pick a charity of your choice. I think there are 330 plus charities to give to. So let's pick the ones that you love the most. I think last year's maybe 1.3 or 1.6 million thereabouts. So we're trying to. No, we're not doubling that.
No, I think this is the total amount. I think what you're asking, like during the power hour, if people give, then somebody matches theirs. Yeah, so this includes all of that.
Really want to thank Nephron for their help today, too. They were big supporters in matching some of the contributions. All right. Thank you.
Mr. Mayor, we would ask at this time you open a public hearing for the Community Development Fiscal Year 2017-2018 Annual Action Plan. Mr. Tyke Watts, the chairperson of the Citizens Advisory Committee, will come forward after you open the hearing, I'm sure, and give a few remarks.
Mr. Chairman.
And Ms. Saeed.
I'll just, good evening, Mayor
Evening. Yes,
Benjamin,
ma'am.
members of City Council. I'll just make a few quick remarks. I'd like to say that we are, of course, nearing the end of our action plan process for fiscal year 17-18. And we started this last year during the fall. And we're currently in our public hearing period and public comment period. I'd like to say that I think that we have worked well with the community, and we've held a public forum at one of the CCN meetings, and also we had a meeting on, I believe it was April 13th, for members of the community to come in and give some feedback on what's been presented. And so at this time, I'd like to go ahead and turn it over to our chairperson, Mr. Tyke Watts, and before he comes forward, I also like to say we do appreciate the work that the committee members do each year, because they are volunteers, but they come in and they offer a lot of great feedback in representing their areas around the city. So, Mr. Watts.
Absolutely.
Thank you, Ms. Aye. Thank you, Mayor Benjamin. Distinguished members of council. Sorry to move furniture around. I'm here today on behalf of the Citizens Advisory Council, and I'm going to steal a Bill Shakespeare line and to say I'm here to praise CDBG, not to bury it. So, with that said, obviously I'm here for the annual action plan public hearing. The City of Columbia's Community Development Department has prepared the fiscal year 2017-18 draft annual action plan, which is you do have a copy of, which represents the third year of the city's 2015-2019 consolidated plan. The action plan is the city's application to the Department of HUD entitlement grants and identifies the proposed programs and projects to be funded during the next fiscal year of 2017-18. The action plan identifies how the City of Columbia, working in collaboration with partners, neighborhoods, and community stakeholders, will use these funds to address its community development, housing, and public service needs and priorities and goals as described in your executive summary. There are 3 entitlement grants through HUD that are covered in our action plan. The first, of course, is obviously the Community Development Block Grant. That accounts for $4.2 million in CDBG revenue. Out of that, $940,783 will come from new entitlement funds in this fiscal year, provided that that funding is provided. Second portion of that comes from prior year entitlements of fiscal year 2015 and 2016, coming to $365,000. And the remaining $2.9 million comes from program income and revolving loan funds. Primary objective is the development of viable urban communities through the provision of improved living environments, expanding economic opportunities, and providing decent housing. Funds are intended to serve low and moderate income residents in areas, eliminate slum and blight, and eliminate an imminent threat of health and safety due to a disaster. 4 of the city's 8 redevelopment areas have been designated for impact funding for this fiscal year. Activities included in the action plan will address community development needs through public service and non-public service activities. For a project summary on that, you can refer to page 40 in your guide. The second grant that we're going after is, of course, the Home Investment Partnership Program, which comes to a total of $678,829 in home revenue. Out of that, $428,829 comes from new entitlement estimates. The remaining $250,000 would come from program income. Home program, of course, is dedicated to increasing the availability as well as the access to affordable housing for low-income households, and activities including affordable housing loans, residential acquisition, rehab, and new construction are provided for you on page 40. And finally, the last grant that is part of the action plan is HOPWA, specifically Housing Opportunities for Persons with AIDS. That revenue accounts for $1.1 million, and those funds may be used for a wide range of housing, social services programming, planning, and development costs for the benefit of individuals living with HIV and AIDS and their families that reside within the Columbia Metropolitan Statistical Area, which includes Calhoun, Fairfield, Kershaw, Lexington, Richland, and Saluda counties. Project sponsors being recommended under this category include the Columbia Housing Authority, Palmetto AIDS Life Support Services, the Cooperative Ministries, USC Salkehatchie, and of course the USC School of Medicine. Citizens have had the opportunity to comment during the city's comment period, which began on April 10th of this year and will conclude on May 11th. In addition to tonight's public hearing, a public hearing was held earlier on April 13th at the Empowerment Zone Ladies Street Suites, and the annual action plan along with the city's citizens and stakeholders' comments will be submitted to the Department of HUD prior to the May 15th deadline of this year. All written comments have been received by email or fax to the Community Development Department. As well, the annual action plan, draft annual action plan and stakeholders questionnaire are available online at columbiasc.net. Just go to the Community Development page, or people can call for more information specifically at the Community Development Department at 545-3373. I'll pause right here for any questions that you may have, as well as for statements from the public who are here for this hearing. With that being said, the floor is yours. Back to you.
I just want to thank you and the committee for your work, all the work that you do and the support and advice and the direction you give to our staff and to council each year. We know that we're dealing with some very interesting times in Washington, D.C., where most, if not all, the programs you referenced are all under threat from the president's skinny budget proposal and probably will remain under threat for years to come. So just want to let you know your work doesn't go unnoticed, and we appreciate it.
We appreciate it too. I do want to echo something you just said, which is these are interesting times we live in. I won't go so far as to say they're dark and dangerous and steal a Harry Potter line, but they could be. And the reason why I want to kind of jump off here a little bit is a lot of people in Columbia don't understand how important these funds are, not only for our city as a whole, but for us as individuals. There have been immeasurable impact that we've had using CDBG funds properly, and we've been able to accomplish a great amount. Having said that, and of course with my connections nationally through Neighborhoods USA and through a wide network of neighborhood people, we in the neighborhood community are very much concerned about what's happening, and you can't convince us otherwise that there is not an effort to eliminate any funds that go into communities. Yeah. This should scare everybody, because when we're talking about disadvantaged communities, the only way that we can lift disadvantaged communities is by pumping some cash in there and reinvesting in our community and turning the face around. If we lose this fight on CDBG, it's going to be hard to say what's going to happen in years to come. It's going to make for some interesting times. So let's just hope our folks in Washington come to their senses and restore this funding, or at least not eliminate it entirely.
Absolutely, no, thank you.
Sorry for the editorial last
time. Oh, no, it's important. It's important. Of course, we're talking about CDBG funds, we're talking about home funds, we're talking about HOPWA funds, we're talking about private activity bonds used for LIHTC. So we're talking about across the board, indeed, an attack on America's cities. So we're glad to have you guys on the front line with us. We have one citizen who's signed up for comment. I want to make sure he entertain any comments from council first. If not, then I want to hear from Ms. Regina Williams.
Good afternoon. And first, I'd like to thank you all for being very responsive when I send my emails, and for your staff being very responsive to us. We really appreciate it, and I want you to know that. I'd also like to clear the air about something with the being on the steering committee for the co-op. When I was contacted to be on that committee, it was at noon, and I could not leave my job as an educator to come to that committee meeting. So I was invited to be a part of that steering committee. The issue I had was that I was not sent any information for following meetings. Therefore, we did not have anybody representing the Booker Washington Heights neighborhood. The gentleman who's listed to represent our neighborhood, he doesn't live in our neighborhood, he lives across the street in the Colonial Heights neighborhood. So since then, that has been rectified, and I have been to a meeting, and I'm very pleased with what's happening. I was able to go back and share it with our community. Our community is very pleased with what is going on. And I do want to share our responses to what we have put in on for the action grant and some things that we would like for you all to consider as you move forward with the action grant. And I did submit this evening via email, but I also wanted in the public comments for the city. It says, I'm Regina Williams, president of the Booker Washington Heights neighborhood. With the permission of my neighborhood, I gave input into the action plan for 2016-2017. After giving that input, we were awarded the building of one house in our neighborhood. The amount that was to be given for the building of that house was $50,000. We also requested that all houses that are being built in our neighborhood be brick structures to allow for future sustainability of our neighborhood. To our dismay, this house is yet to be built, but we have recently had the pleasure of being in contact with Ms. Briscoe and Ms. Saeed, who told us that that particular house was in collaboration with the Richland County School District 1 and Midlands Technical College. We were also informed that for some unforeseen reason, the house was not able to be built, but would be in the plans for 2017-2018. We are requesting that this house be a brick structure, and we are also requesting a timeline for the building of this house. And we are requesting that the $50,000, which is already allocated for that project, remain attached to this project and not be subtracted from future funding. One thing we are not asking for is documentation for the monies that have been spent in the Booker Washington Heights neighborhood, according to the allocation of the CDBG monies for 2016-17. We as a community believe that you have been good stewards of the federal government's money. As we move forward, we are requesting funding from this year's allocation and for the allocation for 2017-18 year to be used to enable our neighborhood to acquire the following: a timeline for property acquisition, demolition, and redevelopment of all areas of the Booker Washington Heights community, monthly updates for the executive board of the Booker Washington Heights Neighborhood Association regarding development in our area, an action plan for the elimination of crime throughout our community. We desperately need an immediate meeting with Chief Holbrook and his designees from North and Metro region, and a plan of action for this community given to City Manager Wilson, Mayor Benjamin, Councilman McDowell, and at-large council members within 30 days. We need a timeline and bi-weekly updates on the progress, and I can stop because it's in the minutes, but.
Okay, well, we'll take a hard copy of that. Thank you. What's in the minutes? I'm sorry. You have a hard copy of that?
We submitted.
Oh, okay, fantastic. Okay.
But it's very important. I did want to share that this past weekend, we witnessed gang activity. We witnessed a black SUV bring in teenagers who robbed a house. And when the police were putting the things on the door to let the neighbors know that the house had been robbed, they did not go to the neighbors who witnessed it. But we saw this happen in our neighborhood. I just got information that we've been begging for humps, street
Speed humps.
humps. My street just got information that we had been approved some time ago, but we did not get it. So we're going to get it prayerfully this week. We're still asking for the closing of Lester Drive because when the SUV picked up the teenagers, they went down through Lester Drive and out to the colony and out to that area. We also would like some help in looking at our boundaries, because once I looked at the boundaries today of our neighborhood on the development, it seems as though the 17 acres is not in our boundary, but we've always been informed that the Booker Washington Heights extended to the railroad track. So those are not included in the Booker Washington Heights boundary as I looked online with that. I implore you to please read what I've submitted so that I won't take up any time. But we would appreciate it and appreciate being contacted. Again, I'd like to thank you all. I'd like to thank City Manager Wilson for being extremely responsive, and our Chief of Police, the North and Metro Region. They're doing the very best with what they have, so they need more. Thank the Co-op Committee. We're very excited about that, very excited for what's coming into our neighborhood with the hope of our neighborhood finally being recognized. Thank you.
If no one else signed up to speak at the public hearing, might need a hard copy of that, indeed. Madam City Manager, or we have action? Is this an action item? Okay. I think, and obviously, a number of the issues are just raised are outside of the plan, but we can address those separately. Is there a motion? Moved and probably second. Discussion. Move the previous question. Clerk, call the roll.
Mr. Rickaman. Mr. McDowell. Mr. Duval. Ms. Devine.
Aye.
Mayor Benjamin.
Aye. All right.
Last thing I want to say before I sit down, if I could, is that I did talk with Ralph Garbushian today because yesterday, actually, and he did send some information about future funding for CDBG Home in Hopwa. Usually by this time of the year, we do know, we have received notice from HUD about how much they're proposing to fund. But of course, because of some of the actions going on in Washington, we have not received that. So with your authorizations for us to go ahead and submit the proposed plan, we do have to hold it until we do receive notification from HUD in terms of how much funding we're going to get. So let's keep our fingers crossed. What they've sent so far, there are no changes. The funding remains level for CDBG and Home, but there is a slight increase for Hopwa. So it's looking good, but we need that letter.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you, Gloria.
City Manager.
Ordinance's first reading, item 23, ordinance number 2017-022, authorizing the city manager to execute a Sixth Amendment to lease between...
There's been a motion. Is there a second? If the clerk would read the roll.
Mr. Rickaman. Mr. McDowell. Mr. Duval. Ms. Devine.
Aye.
Mayor Benjamin.
Aye.
Resolutions, item 24, resolution number R 2017-017, certification of site for abandoned buildings credits, 520 Green Street.
Second.
Motion and probably second. Discussion. Seeing none, move the previous question. Clerk, call the roll.
Mr. Rickaman. Mr. McDowell. Mr. Duval. Ms. Devine.
Aye.
Mayor Benjamin.
Aye.
Item 25, resolution number R 2017-045, authorizing and ratifying the honorary naming of the 600, 700, and 800 blocks of
moved.
Lincoln Street.
As Dawn's Daily Way.
Daily Way.
All right, move second. Any discussion? Move the previous question. Clerk, call the roll.
Mr. Rickaman. Mr. McDowell. Mr. Duval. Ms. Devine.
Aye.
Mayor Benjamin.
Aye.
Other matters, item 26, the policy for renaming streets and facilities, Mr. S. Allison Baker, Senior Assistant City Manager.
We
Mr.
entertain
Baker.
a motion to send that policy to committee for, well, I guess would that be administrative policy?
Administrative policy, yes.
Administrative policy committee for reference and discussion? Yes, we'll have that. All right, is that a motion?
So move.
Just to take it to committee for discussion, as to how we handle these prospectively. And we will need, as Ms. Devine noted, I think Ms. Plow was the chair of that committee. I'm not sure if we backfill. Are you chair now? Okay, so, all right. All right.
Is Daniel on committees now? Did we?
Yeah.
Okay.
All right. Motion, probably second to go to the Administrative Policy Committee for review and reporting back to council. With the previous question, clerk call the roll.
Mr. Rickman, Mr. McDowell, Mr. Duval, Ms. Devine.
Aye.
Mayor Benjamin.
Aye.
Thank you.
Yes, sir. We did not, but my guess is probably, let's try to get it post haste, Mr. Chairman. All right. Have any matters that need to be acted on from work session, Madam City Manager? All right. Any other council committee reports or referrals? All right. No one else has signed up to speak, so is there a non-debatable motion to adjourn? Moved and second. Any discussion? With the previous question, clerk call the roll.
Mr. Rickman, Mr. McDowell, Mr. Duval, Ms. Devine. Mayor Benjamin.
Aye.
Have a
Let the
good
record
evening.
reflect I made weigh in by 1.5 pounds.